And it's the first time in the Torah that the phylacteries, the tefillin, are mentioned. So when we were younger, even in my Torah Das classes, we had, every week there was show and tell. You would show something and tell the story about what you were showing. And so this week, what I'd like to do, since it is the first time tefillin is mentioned in the Torah, is to discuss tefillin. These are the tefillin. We've all seen them. And when I entered into the rabbinate, it was not that popular, but through the efforts of Chabad, their tefillin campaigns, it's something that has become part of the Jewish psyche. Even people who are not in the ritual world or less involved, I noticed that everybody is wanting to put on tefillin when they make a gesture. Would you like to put on tefillin? People stop. Even in Bandai, in Australia, when they had the large gathering, the gathering on the eighth night of Hanukkah to proclaim that notwithstanding the attack, we're going to move forward, there were people all over Bandai who were putting on tefillin. And while tefillin, which is a positive commandment, an affirmative commandment dictated by time, is obligatory on men, I follow the psak, and thank God it's true in the Bayit as well, that although women are exempt from putting on tefillin, that doesn't mean women are excluded. And it's not uncommon for at our daily service that women do wear tefillin, and it's something for women who wish to do so is something I strongly, and I know Reb Stephen, we strongly encourage and we welcome. But today, what I'd like to do is explain what tefillin is, what this ritual of tefillin is all about. My point of departure is to take out the tefillin. This is the tefillin of the hand. This is put on the arm, and it's a box. It's protected by this outer box. And so one could just put it in like this. So we take the tefillin out, and this is the tefillin that goes on the arm. It's placed in this way. There's a little loop here, and it's placed on the arm so that when the hand is dropped, the box on the top of this platform is near the chest or near the heart, and then it could be tightened. Now, we'll come back to that in a moment, but there is a second part of the tefillin, and this is the tefillin of the head. It's called the tefillin shel rosh, and it too is in a protective box. That's the way it's put away, and it's placed on the head. So, it goes like this, and it's placed right at the line of the forehead, so that if you were to put two fingers, one on each side, and just descend, it's right above the nose. It's not put this way, it's put at the top of the line of the hair, or in my case, where the hair used to be. So this is the tefillin shel rosh. And what I think it's about is the following. Every morning when we rise, we put on the tefillin, and the tefillin, as we will discuss, reflects a commitment to God, a commitment to values. As a matter of fact, let me show you. Here on the tefillin of the head, you could see four lines. I hope everybody can see that. Four lines.
It's clear.
And in every line, the line represents a compartment. So here there are four compartments. And in each compartment, there are selected portions from the Bible. In one compartment, there is the Shema, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. And it's written as the Torah is written on parchment. It actually has to be written by a scribe. So it's a small parchment. And in the second compartment is the portion of V'haya im shamoa tishma'u el mitzvotai. And if you will listen to my commandments. Those are the first of the two of the three paragraphs of the Shema Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. And we go through that paragraph. And the second paragraph is Vaya'im Shemoah Tishma'u. Those paragraphs come from the book of Deuteronomy. And the third paragraph, the third compartment, is actually from this week's portion. It's called the paragraph of Kadesh. Kadesh li, Kadesh li kol bechor, sanctify to me every one of the elders. And the fourth compartment is also in this week's portion. It's called V'haya ki yiviacha, and when God brings you into the land of Israel. Now, we'll say something about the compartments, but in totality, it's really a statement that I'm committing myself as I put on these tefillin. I commit myself to God. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. I commit myself to God. And then it has in the second portion a commitment to the mitzvot, to the laws of the Torah. Not only is it a statement of belief in God, but I am saying I feel a connection to God's laws, to the halacha. We'll be coming back to this. And the third is called, as I mentioned, Kadesh. It's not only important that I be one with the halacha, as one could be true to the law, but not follow the values of the law. One could go through rote what the law is and not integrate it. So Kadesh is a statement that not only am I keeping the law, but I'm conscious of its values. And finally, Vayaki Viyacha is saying that this is something that will be with me on my journey of life. And Vayaki Viyacha, when God brings you into the land of Israel, this is what you're going to be doing. But Bigadol, what it's saying is, I make a commitment to the covenant. I make a commitment every day to God. What is the mission of Judaism? The mission of Judaism is Vishamru Derech Hashem, to follow the ways of the Lord, as God says to Abraham, Lasot Tzedakah Umishpat, to do justice and righteousness. And so in the morning, when I have the tefillin on, and we'll go through the specifics of how it's put on, I now have the tefillin on in such a way. It's on my head, these four portions, which is the symbol, of course, the place of the brain, the place of the intellect. And I have it on the inside of my bicep. When I put my hand down, as I've mentioned, it's right near the heart, because the heart is the center of the feelings, of the emotions. Now, of course, one can argue the brain also has something to do with emotion, But bigadol, in its largesse, what we're saying is that I devote my intellect, I invoke the intellectual aspects of Judaism together with its heartfelt emotions. It's the totality of the two that will lead to action. My life is going to be embraced, encircled by all of this. And so we actually put it on this way. We encircle it, encircle. We encircle it 6 times and now 7 times. 7 is the number of Shabbat. 7 is the number of wholeness in Judaism. Virtually every paragraph in the Torah, you know its importance, says Umberto Cassuto, an Italian Jewish great intellect who taught at the Hebrew University in the 1950s. When there is a word that repeats itself in different forms 7 times. When I first heard that, it was hard to believe, but he's correct. The number 7, or a multiple of 7, 14, often shows that this particular term is important. If you look at the beginning of the Torah, Breshit bara Elokim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. 7 words in that first sentence. V'haaretz hayta tohu vavo v'choshech al pnei tahom. 7. V'haaretz hayta tohu vavohu v'choshech al pnei tahom. Now that sentence has 8 words. 7 is the language of completion, of wholeness. What I'm thinking about, the God I'm thinking about is whole. 8, as Rabbi Ari Hart once taught us, is the next octave. 8 is the number of taking that spiritual message and doing our share, committing ourself to those principles as well. That's why the number 8, and here we're into the Kabbalistic world, is a number that's repeated in many different ways. It's on the 8th day that a person is circumcised. It's on the 8th day that we complete the holiday of Hanukkah. It's on the 8th day that the temple was dedicated. And what we're saying is when we put on tefillin, what we're saying is we dedicate our minds and our hearts together. We bring them together to act. Comes down to our hands to do. And in that same framework, I'd like to show you that the head, if one looks very closely, you should be able to see that there's a letter on the box. And that letter is Shin. It's that letter with three prongs. And it's on 3 prongs. Here, for mystical reasons, it's 4 prongs. 4. But it's really 3. It's the Shin. It's the Shin. And if I look at the knot, the special knot of the Tefillin Cherosh, it looks like a Dalid. It looks like a Dalid, Shin Dalid. And if I look at the knot, I'm going to undo this quickly. If I look at the knot of the hand, this looks like a simple Yud, Shin Dalid Yud. And Shin Dalid Yud is the word Shakai, which means God. Now, there are many appellative titles to God's name. Shakai is one of them. It's first found, I believe, in the book of Genesis, chapter 17, sentence 1. Let me take a look at that. And I'm now turning in the book of Genesis to chapter 17. Vayera Hashem El. Let's see what it says here. Trying to turn the page. Avraham Vayoma Elav Ani Kel Shakai. I am the God of Shakai. So every morning when we put on the tefillin, we are surrounded by the letter Shakai, Shaddai. Now, what does Shakai mean? Every name of God means something different. There's no one way to describe God because God is so infinite. There's no way, there's no many ways to describe God. That's why the holiest name of God is Adonai, Yud K Vav K. As a matter of fact, this is a name of God which is not written the way it's read, and it's not read the way it's written. If I were to read the name Yud Hey Vav Hey the way it is written and vocalized, it would be Adonai. Excuse me, it would be Yehovah, Jehovah, Yehovah. And I just said that it's a term we generally don't use for educational purposes. But we don't read it the way it's spelled, even though when you read it the way it's spelled, it's that Jehovah word. We read it Adonai. It's almost as if it's saying you can't pronounce the way God's name is written because God is beyond what is written. And so it is said differently than the way it is written. It is written differently than the way it is said. As a matter of fact, if I'm looking to understand what that word Yud Hey Vav Hey means, it comes from the verb to be, Haya Hoveh V'yiyeh, was, is, and will be. That's God, who is not only the God of the intellect, but it's God of history. It's the God of the experience. And I'm saying that that God is always with me. And the tefillin is the ritual of enwrapment. That's why under the chuppah, the bride walks around the groom. And if the groom wishes, the groom can walk around the bride. It's like we're circling each other. It's like I saw a tape recently of all the hostages as they came home. There was something very common. Wherever they came, everybody was hugging. That's why at the Bayit we hug. I hug the men. Toby hugs the women. On Chag Sameach, we don't say Chag Sameach, we say Hug Sameach, in wrapping. Love is the loving through the circles of enwrapment. So every morning, and now I'm going to put on the tefillin as we normally put it on. I hold it over here. I focus on it. I put my hand in the tefillin like this, near my heart. And before I tighten it, I say a blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu laniach tefillin. And I say the blessing over l'asiyata before the action, and then I begin I begin to wrap it. I actually have seen videos of Rev Moshe Feinstein, who was a great decisive law, that he stops here to put in tefillin shorosh. But my custom from my father and grandfather, and what we normally do is we then keep wrapping the circles of love, keep wrapping the circles, the wheel of life, keep wrapping. 2, 4, 6, some do 7, come down till here, and we hold it in our hands like this. And at that point, we take the tefillin shorosh, the phylacteries of the head. And what do we do with the phylacteries of the head? We place it on our head thus, and right before we tighten it at the top, again we say the blessing before the action. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al mitzvat tefillin, the commandment of tefillin. Put our index finger right over here on the inside of the straps and come down and secure it and place these strands, these strings, they're more than strings, place it in front of us, I find it meaningful that for me it's between they are the posts of the army discs of my grandchildren. Say a little prayer for Gavi and Amichai, who are in the IDF in Sadir. They're both enlisted. One is in Gaza, the other one is in very difficult training. And then I wrap the tefillin around my middle finger once, twice, three times, come back up here. Once you get used to it, one has to be very careful to do it in a way that I can integrate what I'm doing because it could almost become like a rote just going through the motions. So it should be done with a lot of as much meaning as one can have, kavanah, intent. And by the time I'm through, look what I've spelled. This is the shin. Shin. And I also have a dalit. The dalit is here and here. And I have the yud. That's the idea. We are wrapping ourselves in love with the wheels of life, with the word shakai, shaddai. The shin, which is on the shorosh, the dalit, which is the knot, and the yud, which is the hand knot. And I'm saying that myself, I devote myself intellectually and emotionally to translate what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling to follow the ways of God, of Shakai, of Lasot, Staka, Umishpat, to do justice and righteousness. As a matter of fact, the term Shakai is really a play on the word Shaddai. I say to God, God, what you have done, I feel so blessed. It's almost like a dayenu. And that's why the first thing I say in the formal davening is this prayer that we wrote a little bit back. Yididi, Ahuvi, Mahmad Nafshi, my beloved God, Ana Azorli Lahodot Lecha. Please, God, help me, Lahodot Lecha, to offer praise to you. Al kol habrachot shehe'enaktali, for all the blessings which you've given me. V'lo latet et libi al brachot shechaserot li. And God, help me that my heart not be heavy with the blessings I do not have. Ve'ana azoli, and please, O God, help me lekabel bava, to receive with love et hayom she'omed lefanai, yom kadosh v'raverach. Let this day be a day that is holy, a day that I can live every moment, as many moments as I can, with a consciousness, with an intentionality of living a day of meaning, of giving. And if I'm on the receiving end, to do so graciously, but to do all of that bava with love. Shakai, Shaddai, Shaddai. Or sometimes I think it comes from the word Shodayim, which literally means breasts. We view God's love as the God of a mother's love. And a mother's love there are exceptions, but a mother's love generally, and much more than generally, is an unconditional love. I love you no matter what. And that's what's happening every morning. And to be even more specific, let's remember what we said about the compartments. In the head compartment, now I'm reviewing, there are four compartments. Each has a different relevant chapter from the Torah. The first is the Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. That is the chapter that deals with belief in God, faith. The second is Vaya im Shamoa Tishma'u, that the belief then is translated into following God's ways, the halacha. and there are interpersonal halachot, there are ritual halachot, but I argue that they really shouldn't be divided, that the ritual human to God laws, they intersect with human to human laws. I've always felt that way. Take Shabbat. Yes, on Shabbat, we rest on Shabbat, and we try to follow Shabbat as best as we can. We try to observe Shabbat, but that is not relegated only to my relationship with God. Shabbat is the day when everyone rests. It's the day of democracy. It's the day of equality. The Bible tells us, "Leman yanuach shorcha v'chamorcha," that on that day even your animals rest, even your slaves rest, which requires, of course, much, much more understanding, because slavery, of course, is verboten and it's forbidden. What is it in the Torah? But the point is that on that day, it's a day of interpersonal relationships as well. So again, one section belief, the other one in the action. The third is that the action should not be on the surface, external without internal meaning. You can follow the law and have no values. And that's why the third one is Kadesh li kol b'chor. Sanctify every firstborn. And even though literally that may deal with the sanctification of the firstborn was the one who first served in the temple until the golden calf incident. When they were involved in that idolatry, they were replaced by the Levium, by the Levite tribe, which is a separate discussion. But I'd like to think that separate from that, homiletically, Kadesh li kol b'chor is every person. Every person is the eldest, is the most important. I'm one of five. We used to ask our parents, knew who is the most important. And the answer is parents who are parents understand that all of their children are the most important. Kadesh li kol b'chor, God says, let every individual not only follow the law, but be aware of its values. And the fourth is Vayaki V'yacha, which speaks to the coming, to the going. Again, this is my homiletical interpretation. It literally speaks of the journey to Israel, but Vayaki V'yacha is the journey of life. The journey of life. To every bat mitzvah, Debbie Friedman used to sing, Lechilach, to the land that I will show you. Lechilach, to the place I do not know. Lechilach, on your journey I will bless you, and you will be a blessing. That's what life is. Life is a journey. And I want to say something very deep. These four portions on the head phylactery are in four separate compartments. If I were to open this up, you would see the leather which demarcates each compartment. On the hand, however, I'm going to undo this. On the hand, if we look at that box, there's a difference. It's not in four compartments, it's in one compartment. Notice again, the head is in four, the hand is in one. That means those four portions, which are in four distinct compartments, are in one compartment. It's one, it's small. You have to really be a scribe of talent, but it's in one, so that parchment is larger because in each of them there is only 1/4 of the whole text. Four compartments, 1/4. Here it's all in one. And I'd like to argue, I thought it's mine, but generally everything good one thinks of, one has said beforehand. What this is teaching is that in the realm of thought, it's okay when one is active in a cause, it's okay for people to have different ideas, different thoughts. But when it comes to action, it's important for there to be one box. There has to be unity. Thinking about the last 2 years in Israel, very, very difficult war, in a cabinet meeting or in the politics, there could be many, many different ideas about how to navigate the war, how to go through the theater of protecting ourselves. But once it comes down to it, once decisions are made, however they made, in action, there has to be a sense of real unity. On a small level, when we used to be involved in activism, I remember when we planned the jumping of the fence at the Auschwitz convent. And I was told by a student recently that it's not only that the nuns left, we knew this in 1993. We were protesting. I have a lot of respect for convents, but I don't think convents should be at the largest Jewish cemetery of the world, where the nuns were saying that they were praying for the Jews who were murdered there. With all due respect, let the Jews rest in peace as Jews. No one has to pray that that they should repent posthumously. And it was a very complicated process of thinking through how we would do this to try to make a difference. And we met at the seminary on two different occasions, seven of us. Everybody had a different opinion. But since I was the oldest, I guess that's the only reason. When we got there was only one action. We were all united, and there was an understanding that if something would happen, and often things happen you didn't expect, that we didn't have time to sit down and to talk with each other what to do, that there would be one person who would be the captain of the team. And as a matter of fact, when we went there, so as many of you may know, it goes back many years, but when we went there, we jumped the fence, we sat in nonviolent civil disobedience, and we told the nuns that we appreciate what they're doing, but no thank you. And the whole Jewish world was behind us. As a matter of fact, Catholics, nuns and fathers, the European cardinals had signed an agreement that the nuns would leave. And when they didn't leave, they continued staying there for a long while. That's why we went. And so at that point, we jumped the fence, and then from the inside, workers, and there are not supposed to be any men in that. This is a place for Carmelite nuns, but there were workers on the inside. And as we were davening mincha, they threw paint mixed with urine, urine on our heads. It was really quite humiliating. And then they came out to beat us. And the chaver I was with were much, much younger and very strong. And they said, Avi, we're not going to allow this. We're going to fight back. And I made the decision at this point that many disagreed with. I said, I don't believe in violence as a means of social action. If we're in the army of Israel, then properly we obviously must use force to defend ourselves. But as a means of social action, we believe only in nonviolent civil disobedience. And I heard it from those who were there. In fact, when the story got out and it was discussed in the shul, I remember Avram Telov, blessed memory, he stood up and he said, I appreciate your rule, but when a Jew is beaten at Auschwitz, Jews fight back. And I heard that, and that rests on my mind, but that's what we did, even though at that point there was only a Reuters reporter and photographer and an AP or UPI reporter and photographer, just the seven and the two. There were cameras in the beginning, but they had left when it had become quiet. But at the beating, there was only the four of us. And even though the four of us know what occurred, the world, even though we were not violent, claimed that we had come to beat up the nuns and we were beating up the nuns. And that became the whole scene. Now, I mentioned that long interlude because in the head, when one is thinking through how to act, there could be differences of opinion. But once decisions are made, then one must act with unity. And so this is what we're doing every morning. Every morning, we take the tefillin, put it near our heart. I'll go through this again. We wrap ourselves as our way of saying that with our heads and with our hearts, we commit ourselves to Shaddai, It's such a holy word. We generally should say shakai. I use the real word for educational purposes. Put this on our head like this, straps in front of us, and then we keep rapping, spelling out the name of God, Shakai, saying we feel God's love and we're satisfied with, we'd like God to be with us always, but whatever we have, thank you, God, for what you've given us. And may our hearts not be heavy by always thinking of what we don't have. And we feel, God, we feel the mother's love. I wanted to add just one more word. That is, I've already told you and shared the blessings of the hand and of the head. When it comes to the encircling of the fingers, we say the words that come from the book of Misha. I'm sorry, from Hosea. And the words are the following. Ve'erastich li la'olam. First twirl. Ve'erastich li b'tzedek u'v'mishpat u'v'rachamim. Ve'erastich li be'amuna v'yodat et Adonai. Now, Veirastich is a word which means I betroth you. It's equivalent to the word kiddushin, and betrothals in Hebrew is called the erusin. And so when one says this, one says to God, it's almost like a marriage. I betroth you to me forever. I betroth you to me in righteousness and justice. I betroth you to me with faithfulness, and you shall know the Odat et Hashem, and may I know the Lord. It's a statement of a marital, of a betrothal connection. But now open your hearts. The truth is, the speaker of the Erastich is not the person putting on the tefillin. It's God who says these words. There's a very deep teaching in the Talmud in Brachot that as we put on tefillin, God puts on tefillin at the very same time. And so when we put on tefillin, when we put it on, we hope we can hear God say to us, and I will betroth you to me. God is the speaker. So me is uppercase, capital Me, forever. And I will betroth you to me, that's God speaking, capital M, in righteousness and justice. And I will betroth you to me, capital M, in faithfulness, so that you know the Lord. Notice what we're saying here. God, it's almost like we're under the chuppah, and God is saying this, my marriage to you is forever. My marriage to you, we say on the second twirl, is going to be with rules of goodness and kindness and justice. I'm going to follow fundamentals. I'm going to respect you. I'm going to care for you. And the last is fidelity. I will betroth you to me in faithfulness. As a matter of fact, and this is for me so magnificent, the rabbis say that whereas in our tefillin shorosh, in the tefillin shorosh are these four compartments. God also has compartments in his tefillin, but in his compartment, it says something different. What it says is, Umi ka'amcha Yisrael goy echad ba'aretz. And who is like you, my people, O Israel, a nation who is the one who is my special love on earth. it's almost like we're talking to each other. We say to God, I enwrap your name, committing myself, head, I'm repeating, heart, to doing, to believing, and to doing your words, your justice, your morality. I love you, O God. And in the same breath, tefillah is not a monologue, it's a dialogue. As we are speaking to God, we should be open to hear God say to us, as you say to me, I love you. As you say, there is none other than God. I say to you, as my parchment reads, Umi kamcha Yisrael goy echad ba'aretz. Who is like you, goy echad ba'aretz? It's a beautiful story they tell about Reb Levi Yitzchak Berditchev. He wrote a poem called Do, You. And in German and in Yiddish, the second person singular could be more formal, ihr, or it could be informal when you're really a pal of someone, do. So he actually wrote a song, Do, Do, Do. Yet he was the one who always protested God. He said, God, you're not doing enough. You've got to do more. Your people need you. I protest. And when I protest, it's a sign of love, God. I know we tell to the people we love the most, I love you, but I know you can be better. I'm going to encourage you to do better. Do, do, do. So he was the rabbi who protested. And yet he wrote, Do, do, do. You're with me. You're with me always. I love you, God. In the Mizrach, in the Maidav, in the Tzafon, in the Daram, east, west, north, south, vuach gay, vuach stay, where I go, where I stand, in the Eben, up and down and to the sides. God, there's only you. I'm obsessed with love for you. And it said that Reb Levi Yitzchak Berditchev once saw a parishioner, a congregant, drop his tefillin, drop to the ground. And at that moment, he turned to God as this Yiddish, as this Jew picked up his tefillin and he kissed it. And Reb Levi Yitzchak Berditchev said, Dear God, look at the way this Jew is picking up the tefillin. He's so sad that he dropped it. And yet he picks it up and he embraces it and loves it because he loves you, God. He is sorry that he allowed the tefillin, which represents what you're about in your teachings, to drop to the ground. But God, Reb Levi Yitzchak Berditchev then said, and when you drop your tefillin, God, the tefillin that says, I love you, I love Israel, I love the world, with all that's going on in the world, I ask you, Reb Levi Yitzchak Berditchev, do you pick up the tefillin as quickly? Do you kiss the tefillin with the kind of beauty and the kind of an internal love that this Yiddish is kissing the world? And so that's what's in this Parsha. It ends with the words, it's mentioned on two occasions, but the last words of the Parsha, V'haya le'ot al yadcha, and the tefillin, which I think comes from the word tefillah, because that expression is an expression of tefillah, of prayer. V'haya le'ot al yadcha, it should be a sign upon your hands. That's the hand. U'letotafot b'neinecha, totafot is a compound of two words, tot and pot. Tot means two compartments. Pot is another two compartments. Uletotafot, those four components upon your eyes. Oh God, may it be, may it be. My love for you be love ve'rasich li la'olam, forever. And I hear you saying, God, let it be that you're saying, and my love for you is forever. We'll stop here after that presentation of what tefillin is all about. And I'm interested in hearing if you have any. By the way, when we take off the tefillin, we take it off in the way we put it on. First from the fingers, and then we take the shorosh, take it off, and we put it in here. And, once one becomes accustomed, it becomes not second nature and first nature, which has its challenges because when it becomes so nature, first natured, it could become mechanical. And it's important for ritual to have meaning and not be mechanical. It should be internalized. And once I roll it up like that, then I have my tefillin bag. This tefillin bag was actually made by students at a school that our granddaughter Abigail attends. She's the eighth of nine children, and they live in Efrat, and she's a child with special needs. And our daughters, the way Ilana has raised Abigail, she's 17 with her special needs, but the love and the child doing the best she can. She attends a high school where those with special needs are educated together with those who are in the mainstream. And it's the children with the special needs who made this tefillin bag. So it means a great deal to me. And we take off the shel yad, we put it into the box, the knot comes out here, and we just tighten this, and then we roll it up like this. People roll it differently. I roll it up as the Dalit of Shakai. And then it's placed, ready for use tomorrow. I remember my father once lost his tefillin and he couldn't find it, so he got another pair. And after about a year, he found it. Somebody had placed it over the top of his bookcase. And I was there when he found it, and I just saw the way he took it down, like that story about Reb Levi Yitzchak, and he took it, kissed it. It was like it was like a love story movie. So